stupid people in the news here. The hurricanes have been really bad on the East Coast, and it seems like this is happening every couple of years. And now a lot of people are just moving from Florida because every couple of years their house gets knocked down, which I'd imagine is pretty irritating. Having your life threatened and your house knocked down and your city flooded. So this has been a big issue, but there's been a lot of climate change denial on the other side, from Marjorie Greene and Trump, and they're trying to make it sound like it's worse, and FEMA's not doing a good job, and Biden's not doing a good job, and Kamala Harris isn't doing a good job, Kamala. And so they've created a lot of further problems where people aren't going to get help because they think that there is no help when there is. And Bill Nye is going to talk a little bit about this on CNN. I thought that was just funny. They always bring in Bill Nye to do the climate change stuff. Former advisor to Obama.
Because he's the science guy.
He's very pro-education, science education, and it's important. And he does make some good points. But I want to watch some of this interview because I thought it was really good with Bill Nye. We're not going to watch the whole thing, but...
The Southeast is in storm recovery mode after two deadly hurricanes in just 2 weeks. A new study shows that ultra-warm water in the Gulf of Mexico supercharged Helene and human-caused climate change. Of course, likely heated up that water. A lot to discuss with our next guest.
Well, we know what did that. It was the Jewish space lasers, according to Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Bill Nye, the science guy, is also part of the Too Hot Not to Vote campaign and to engage and educate voters on climate change and clean energy. Bill, I mean, as a news guy, I guess we have to couch things and say likely to do this and likely to do. I mean, but with how much certainty can we say, yes, climate change is heating up the Gulf and supercharging these hurricanes?
Well, there's no question that climate change is heating up the Gulf. That's proven. The question is, does an individual storm a result of climate change? Well, in this case, yes, because it's the heat that's in the water that got there from the heat that's held in the atmosphere that was held in on account of carbon dioxide principally, and also other greenhouse gases like methane, natural gas. And so this is an extraordinary storm that was 300 nautical miles wide. This is a remarkable thing. And I just heard a previous segment. Everybody, the water's going to continue to rise because
yeah, why is that?
The rain fell in a very, very large area. It's like a giant funnel. And so it's draining toward the sea. And it takes several days. So the sheriff was there reminding people that the water's still going to go up. Counterintuitive. It stopped raining, but the water level's still going to rise.
Because of gravity. It's all draining into one spot. 300 nautical miles. It's huge. It's a huge storm. And he's right. Part of this is climate change. Temperatures have gotten hotter, so which created more heat, which created the storm. So it created all that moisture glomming over the Atlantic Ocean, and with the rotation of the Earth, got it to start spinning, and that's what created the hurricane. Pretty basic, sort of understanding of it. But, pretty horrible stuff that's actually going on. But there's a lot of people that are denying it, and he asks him about it here at this point. Let's see if I can find this. Let me get it to there. There we go. Let's do this part.
But as a scientist, can you help us understand why that is?
So he's reporting on this where Marjorie Greene, you can see it in the chyron there, says that the government controlled the weather and created this hurricane. And you've heard a lot of Trump supporters spewing that out. That somehow the Democrats controlled the hurricane to manipulate the election, which I think is funny because the Democrats have the ability to create a hurricane, but they can't rig an election. It's really stupid. Furthermore, if the Democrats can create a hurricane and the Republicans can't, well, they're clearly the smarter party, so why are you voting for the Republicans? It's just stupid.
False.
Yeah, I really just
and I know
rigging an election.
Yeah, it's so dumb.
It's
It
false
just
because
sounds ridiculous for me to even ask the question,
Yeah.
but help us out.
Well, it's false because of the size of it. The amount of energy in a storm like Milton is more than every military in the world put together at the same time. It's just, the expression is physically impossible. And this is intuitive, as Samuel Clemens, Mark Twain, everybody talks about the weather, nobody does anything about it. But we have a chance to do something about it. And what's happened is here in the United States, we have created these gerrymandered congressional districts where people who do not win the popular vote, have fewer votes, are able to get elected. And by promulgating these extraordinary, this misinformation, they're able to get reelected, and it plays on people's grievances and frustrations. And I understand that, but we got to turn this around. It's going to take quite a while, but we've got to turn it around. It's in everybody's best interest. And
I think he makes a phenomenal point there, which is kind of why I wanted to play that clip, which is, here we have a problem where we've gerrymandered the district, so you're not really winning the popular vote. It's rigged in your favor. The politician got to pick the voters instead of the voters picking the politician. And what ends up happening...
Yeah, that should totally not be a thing. I should not get to pick who's electing me in.
Right. And that's what he's talking about. And because of that, then what they do is they play on that voter base, that small minority voter base, and their fears and their grievances, because that's how they get reelected. And so it's in Marjorie Greene's best interest to make shit up in line, no matter how crazy it is, because that's going to get her reelected. That's going to get her more money. And that's where the incentive is, as opposed to actually telling the truth and dealing with the actual issues. It's better to just make shit up and do nothing. And that's in her best interest, capitalist-wise. And that's why he's pointing that out. And for the Republican Party, that's in their best interest. Racism is in their best interest. Fear of immigrants is in their best interest. Making shit up about a storm is in their best interest. Lying about the economy is in their best interest.
So sad.
And I'm not saying the Democrats are fucking perfect or anything, but at least they, for the most part, are dealing in reality, which is where you have to go. And when you get down to the end of the day, we've did that joke before from Sam Cedar, did that joke about, if I've got two guys that are running for office and one guy says I want to build more death camps and the other guy says I want to build less death camps, you got to vote for the guy who's going to build less death camps, because those are your only two choices. So if you don't like the Democrats, your other option is more death camps. More lies about the hurricane, more death, more destruction, more economic problems. That's just the fact. I mean, one party's reasonable and the other party's fucking batshit crazy, and they're incentivized to do it.
Oh my God, you said that and I started twitching.
Yeah.
You're stressing me out, Duncan. You're stressing me out. You're making me twitch.
I'm aging Lacey over here.
Woo!
Gosh.
Get out and vote, people.
Please, for the love of God, get out and vote. So, I did want to go into this. So, there was one guy that because we had talked about the hurricane last week. There was one guy. It was a bunch of people that were climate deniers that made comments. And there were a couple things that I wanted to point out, because I can do it Lacey and I can do this from a financial perspective. All right? We're not physicists. We're not geologists. We're not meteorologists. We know because that's what we're being told. But the thing about it is it real? And these people are questioning whether or not it's real. Well, it is. Climate change is real. Man-made climate change is a real thing that's happening. And I can tell you that that's a fact, and we all believe it's a fact, because even every corporation and business in America is prepping for this. And around the world. So here's an article from NPR where climate rules are coming for corporate America. So the climate change rules from the government is what this is talking about. But they actually talk about this. The cost of climate change for companies as extreme weather disrupts manufacturing and supply chains and inflicts billions in economic losses. For the agriculture industry, the threat from rising temperatures may be one of the greatest that we face in this lifetime, according to this person, Corteva, an Indiana company that makes seeds and chemicals. Not a person, sorry, company. So even these companies that are making products, farming products, are scared shitless. Because there's going to be floods, there's going to be droughts, there's going to be less arable land to create food, less customers. So Corteva, which previously part of Dow DuPont, which is a major corporation, says it has a plan. There's money to be made producing things like biofuels to power ships and airplanes with less climate pollution, and crops that are better at resisting diseases as the planet gets hotter. And crucially, Corteva says it's curbing some of its own emissions from the greenhouse gases that are heating the planet. It misses deadlines it set for opening more sustainability. The company says its relationship with customers and investors could suffer. So companies, this is just one, for example, that we're looking at, but there's a bunch. Do you think Exxon is already planning for this? ConocoPhillips, these are oil companies. They don't want a lot of the regulations, but they also realize it's going to be harder to drill in these locations with extreme weather patterns. It's going to create supply chain issues for them getting equipment. I'll tell you just a simple one right now. Go ahead.
What a tricky position to be in.
Yeah.
From their perspective. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
That's kind of a tricky spot to be in.
Yeah, we lied about it for years and years and years and created all these false studies, but now we're kind of in the shit. But
Yeah.
that's the thing though, is they have to plan for that going forward. And right now, if you're a business owner and let's say your primary customer base is in, I don't know, Georgia or Florida, you're not making any money right now. And this is like a regular occurrence. How many of these once in a lifetime or once in a century storms have there been in the last 5 years? There's been a bunch. There were a bunch during Trump. There were like 3 or 4 during Trump. Maybe it was more than that. This is a regular occurrence. People are leaving Florida. And the other way I know it's true is this. If climate change was bullshit, it was just some made up thing to trick the libs or whatever, right? Lacey and I would be in Florida right now selling hurricane insurance. Because if it was bullshit, these people would buy it. Then they'd have it. And we'd never have to pay out because there'd never be a hurricane. We'd be selling flood insurance. We'd be selling homeowners insurance like it was hotcakes. Every insurance company would be begging. We'd be down there. We'd be 1 million fucking insurance salesmen banging on your door, trying to sell you homeowners insurance, flood insurance, all that in Florida, if climate change were BS. But this is the actual case. So here's CNN. Florida's home insurer of last resort is in serious trouble. Will Milton put it over the edge? So most insurance companies won't even give you homeowners insurance in Florida. You can't get homeowners insurance in Florida. Things are that bad. So here we go. New York. An exodus of national insurance companies from Florida combined with local private insurers canceling plans has left the homeowners with only one option. Citizens Property Insurance Corp. What is Citizens Property Insurance Corp? Tell me, CNN. It's a state-backed nonprofit home insurance company. It was set up by an insurer of last resort for those who can't find coverage in the private market. With 1.3 million policies in force as of last month, 3 times as many as compared to 5 years ago. It tripled in 5 years. Citizens by far the largest provider in the state. So the largest provider of homeowners insurance in Florida is a state-backed socialist program. You see how the conservatives have to resort to socialism when things don't go right. They could have just done it to begin with, but no. And now that program and what this whole article is about, because it talks about here staying solvent, Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis warned earlier this year that Citizens was not solvent and that it can't function with millions of people on it because if a storm hits, it's going to cause problems for the state. That's what happened. It avoided the worst case scenario with Milton, but that doesn't change the fact that Citizens is potentially one catastrophic storm or storm season away from insolvency. That's what Sheldon Whitehouse was saying. So even this state-backed socialist insurance company, which is the only place that a lot of people can get homeowners insurance in Florida because nobody else will insure there, and that might go under. So For all you're like, it's not real. If it wasn't real, Geico would be there. Allstate would be there. AXA would be there. They'd be selling homeowner insurance like hotcakes.
Right, they'd never have to pay out on it. It would be so great.
Yeah. Yeah, you want to talk about this? Try this. Try to get earthquake insurance in Los Angeles. There's a reason it's so freaking expensive. You want to get earthquake insurance in Seattle? Oh yeah, it's super cheap. Because the odds are really low. But that's just how that goes, man. So